Hi guys, Nomis here. Welcome back to Nomishavn for episode number 44. Today I'll be building a park based on a place in my hometown of Bergen in Norway, which is a lake in the middle as the main feature. First off, you'll see me just upgrading some roads to tram tracks just for future use, and I'm also measuring out the space for the park and getting in the roads that is gonna border the park. Before I get properly into the build, I just want to go into Google Earth for a bit and have a look at the inspiration for the build. So this is Lille Lunggårdsvann in Bergen in the city center. You can see here it's pretty central, and it's this octagonal shaped lake, and it's got like a little bit of a park space around. Here is Festplassen, which I guess would translate to like party place. It's like a plaza which a lot of the time has some events like concerts, markets and stuff like that, and I'm going to do something inspired by that as well. And as you could see, I've seen in the video, I just started laying out the shape of the lake, and I'm going to do something like try to copy the path designs as much as I can. There's like two pairs of paths with like a little grass strip in the middle and some benches, and there's just a little bench of trees in the grass median, and you can't see it here, but there's like a pretty tiny fence along the paths separating it from the grass strips, and there's some open areas as well. And you got this pretty cool design with kind of this wave shape of flowers, which I'm gonna see if I can do as well. And you got some almost like smaller parks within the park. You have a fountain here and here, and over here you have this big statue. I don't have this exact one, but I'm gonna see if I find something that's suitable. And then over here you have a small like bakery cafe with some outdoor seating, which I'm gonna try to do as well. And there's this at the end of the plaza, there's just these stairs going straight down to the lake, which I think is pretty cool. And you can see it here, but it's like a fountain, like water jets right in the middle of the lake, which is pretty cool. You can see here there's kind of a road hugging right up to the paths and some museums. I'm not going to do exactly this. I'm going to have the park be a bit wider because I don't really have the space to have like a road and some buildings in the space I have. So I'm instead going to have more green space on the sides in the park that I build. And you have some museums on the side, but I'm instead going to have in the game like a museum at the end here, which should make for a pretty cool viewpoint. But anyways, let's just go into the game and you can see how I built it. Right before I went into Google Earth, I was getting in the shape of the lake using some terraforming networks. And then between them I just flatten out the terrain and fill it in with the water tool. Once the lake is filled up, I'll start getting in some grass networks. Not sure if it was easy to see on Google Earth, but right by the path closest to the lake, the grass kind of slopes down to a retaining wall right by the water's edge. In order to achieve this in game, I use some grass surface networks, and I use node controller to tilt them down to get that slope. And then finally I put a nice old stone retaining wall along it. For creating the paths, I found a really nice gravel texture in a decal I had already, which looked very similar to the real thing. I'm just using invisible paths and adding in all the details with IMT. So the base is the gravel texture, and then I add in details like fences, curbs and hedges to fill it out. It was a bit of work because in the intersections everything kind of meet together, so I had to move the curbs and everything, but I think the end result is really worth it. And also the sloped grass networks left a little gap, and I just filled that in by adding some ploppable grass props to the side of the paths in IMT. gap I left here is going to be the stairs going down into the water. So this will be the edge of the plaza I'll build out as well. The shape is not fully square, so I need to distort the stairs at the end quite a lot to make them fit. This stretches the texture on top and it looks really ugly. But the top of the stairs I will cover up with ploppable surfaces anyways, so that they can have the same decals as the plaza as an extension of it. To the sides of where the plaza will sit is what I like to call the smaller parks within the park. 2 half-circle parts, one of them with a small fountain, and the other will just have a row of flowers. When doing this I was looking very closely on Google Earth for a layout, and I think it gave it a really nice final look. For now I'm just doing the general layout, and the other details I'll come back and add later. For creating the plaza, I'm mostly just covering it with this decal and using some ploppable surfaces to get it all the way from the sidewalk and on top of the stairs. The plaza will sit mostly empty as it can be used for different events as I mentioned, and this is how it is in real life as well. But I do add some planters and benches along the edge of it later on to have a little bit of detail. Over here I'm placing the cafe slash restaurant I talked about earlier, and the placement is pretty close to the real place. The asset is a pretty nice little cafe from Sweden, and it fits perfectly here. It has a front facing to the path, and I cover the back part facing the road in some fences. And for some detail I add trash containers and other clutter you would find behind the restaurant. I'll add some outdoor seating a bit later on and adjust the path to make sure that people aren't walking directly through the tables, but rather around them. The wavy pattern of flowers along the side of the lake was pretty difficult to get right, and I don't know that I'm 100% happy with how it looks. I first tried some flower networks and tilt them like I did with the grass networks, but that really didn't work. So I had to break out the old reliable line tool and draw out the wave pattern, and then a tedious task of moving them up and down with Move It to get the height right on the sloped grass. I guess it kinda works in the end. I've used this statue before, I think, but it was really the only fitting one, so I decided to use it again here. There's also this pattern of flowers along the corners with gaps between them that I tried to replicate. Springtime, there's a bunch of cherry trees blossoming in the place I took inspiration from, so I had to designate some areas in my own park for cherry trees as well. And next up I get in the fountain jets in the middle of the lake. This was pretty simple to do with line tool, just using the circle tool, and going gradually down in height with the fountain jet props that I used. To add my own touch, I placed a bunch of colored lights that you can see at night. And I really love how this feature in the middle of the lake comes out. It's kind of a defining feature of the real lake, so it was really important to get right. With the park finished, I'm going across the road and placing down this huge museum. The size was pretty perfect, and I think it creates a beautiful viewpoint across the lake from the plaza. It also makes sense as the inspiration had some museums right by it, just not in the exact same place. I'm going into Bob to detail it a bit, mostly replacing a bunch of vanilla props to make it look nicer and also adding a few. With IMT I also covered the front area with decals, and the empty areas on the side are just designated to some grass areas with a few trees. Now there's a gap left between the museum and the train station that I built a few episodes ago. For this area I wanted to build a small neighborhood with some super narrow one-way streets and some medium height apartments, buildings, pretty tightly up to them. I want to give it that feel of those cozy narrow streets that you probably recognize from many cities. To get some added life I have some more space on the sidewalk, a few places, with a few spaces for outdoor seating, and give it a bit of mixed use with a few shops, bars, restaurants and kiosks. It's mainly residential this area, but it's too central to not have a few neighborhood shops and bars. There's a pretty awkward block I decided to just fill up with some sports parks, and a small plot right across the train station that was perfect for a small plaza with a nice fountain in the middle.
In the city late at night, I find my rhythm set and right. Recall what I'd bring the light. Flopping buildings, what a sight. Move and shift and make it flow. Watch the sky and start to glow. From the ground to high above, crafting cities, feel the love. Feel the love. Crafting cities, feel the love. Each block a canvas. to my command. Every street and avenue designed with care just for you. My turn today, my city's alive. Bustling streets, it starts to thrive. Recome on and move it to a builder's dream coming true.
The last thing I do is add some lights hanging from wires above the street. I've done this before and I think it's especially fitting in narrow streets like these ones. And you probably have noticed that before. I just didn't add street lights. I didn't add street lights on the roads themselves. Anyways, that is it for this episode. I really hope you enjoyed it if you made it to the end of the video. And if you did, I thank you for that. This was a really fun build and probably my favorite park I built so far. A comment, like, subscribe would be greatly appreciated and help me grow in the channel. And I got a Patreon as well in case you would wish to support me further. I hope you have a great rest of your day. Hope to see you next time. And stay tuned for some cinematics.
In the heart of Scandinavia, by the northern sea, lies a port so grand and ancient, where history runs free. Nomishavn, a city old with wooden houses fair, cobblestones beneath our feet, and harbors rich and rare.